Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Good morning, folks. Share my screen and wait a couple of minutes for others to trickle in. How's the long weekend?
Pretty short.
Pretty
was fun.
short. Yeah, for mine it's like yeah, I have some daily meetings going on for some time, and then the long weekend does help. They say no, we're not gonna have meeting this weekend. Okay, travel bus. So I think we can start in a minute. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen.
Cool, that's great. By the way, did you all sign up for the OCP Global Summit?
Oh, you're asking me
Um,
or
you,
others?
you're the rest as well. Thomas included, of course.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those that are going
Nice.
or sign up.
Uh-huh. Yep. I just booked my travel like a couple days ago,
Awesome.
so I hope
Just
to see you all in person.
yeah, we're just waiting for our presentation to be approved. Then we get our ticket.
Yep. Me too. I have not. I don't have the code yet, I guess, but I'll also surely email you that. Okay. Great. I think we have quorum. Let's start. Okay. Yeah, this is the OCP NIC community update for the month of September. So we have a couple of agenda, OCP Global Summit update. We also have the OCP NIC spec release candidate discussion, and then mechanical update for DSFF and SR update for DSFF, as well as the thermal test feature update for the DSFF. First one, OCP Global Summit. Hope to see you folks in person in San Jose Convention Center. So earlier I kind of said that two presentation draft under review, but it's actually three. There's one more that around net, the networking is also under our review. So and then we do have the OCP Innovation Village for the OCP NIC demo accepted. So after I checked offline with some of the participants, I realized that it's actually more than just OCP NIC demo in this round. And OCP Foundation put us together is also more than just OCP NIC. It does include some of the networking demo. So we do have a meeting tomorrow for those who submitted into OCP requesting space. So we will do some prep. What I see the biggest challenge this round is not about space, but it's actually power. It appears that some of the demo are actually very power hungry. So that we'll go through the common all folks discussion tomorrow with this listed company. So we initially intend to open more to partner company, But then after I have that some offline conversation, I think we need to do the initial allocation of power and space before open up to more parties and company. If we have a real limitation, then I think we need to prioritize those who submit the request to OCP Foundation. That said, for those who are interested in the demo together, please contact me. So yeah, I know who to reach out. Yeah, when we finish the initial allocation of power and space. So yeah, that's for the OCP Global Summit. Next would be our spec release candidate, Thomas.
Okay, thanks, Damien. So, prepare for or look out for your emails this week for groups.io distribution to the OCP NIC server and SCM work groups. It's release candidate time. So I think we're at that stage where the last bits are going into the spec right now. No new technical content really. But the timeline is as follows, right? We'll have the release candidate posted on the wiki page by this Friday. Actually, that should say September 6th by this Friday. And then we'll have a two-week public review where we're going to ask the public and members of all the work streams to provide feedback, right? And then pending any comment resolution that needs to be done, we should be posting by September 20th.
Okay.
Yep. As far as actual content updates go from the electrical side, I'll take this section, but then we have mechanical and SI that the respective workstream members, leaders will take. So one of the spec updates here is that for a multi-NIC scenario, where one of them is a timing NIC, in prior drafts of the spec, we had a D flip-flop. I know that's really hard to see. Can you full screen, Damien?
Sure.
All right.
Oh, I need to change this.
Oh, I guess still hard to see. If for a timing only NIC implementation, we had some text in there that in prior versions required a D flip-flop on the NIC side to retime the hardware arbitration in, hardware arbitration out signals. That has been moved to the baseboard side, and there is new text in the spec that says a baseboard vendor shall do timing analysis and, if required, implement signal conditioning logic such that they meet all the timing requirements. We do also acknowledge in the last work stream, RBT has been historically a difficult interface to work with, but acknowledging that timing is always a challenge on this bus.
Is there any concern to move it to the baseboard side during the electrical discussion?
No, there were no one pushing back on that. So we had several participants in an active discussion, and there were no concerns raised. Also want to point out that current NICs, before we did any of the timing additions to NIC spec, any OCP NIC that did not support hardware arbitration or RBT would physically loop back the ARB-in and ARB-out pins, and that's been like that in the spec since, I guess, for a couple of years. Nobody's complained about that in the past, and HPM vendors have found a way to work around it, right? So it's been okay. I think the addition just enhances the ability to keep this bus alive a little bit longer, especially for multi-NIC scenarios.
Yeah, Damien, from let's say Dell's point of view, given that the DCMHS has the options now for up to 2 SFF slots, we're already in a mindset of having to consider configurations where there's just 1 SFF or 2 SFF, and one may, you can think of all the little combinations. One card may support the hardware loop, but another one doesn't, and along the fact of one card being populated and one not being. So there's already some a priori thought process into the fact that, that a baseboard will have to consider, what would happen if a card doesn't have that support. So it already has to be factored in. As long as people are properly doing, the through content in terms of RBT support and not, that, if anything, just helps guarantee less of a challenge and greater system interoperability with NICs and systems.
I see your point. Yeah, I think there's a case whereby the slot is totally empty. Then something that the baseboard we need to take care of it anyway. So
Right.
yeah, that kind of makes sense to move this logic to the baseboard. Yeah. Yep, agree.
I think that's it for me.
Next, Joe on DSFM mechanicals.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so we're making good progress. We've gotten all the mechanical collaterals together, and that's just finalizing getting because we had an internal review in the work stream, just getting some of the errors and things that were caught in our initial review, getting those updates into the spec and working on that now. So we'll have our all the 2D drawings. We updated the BOM a little bit. There's a new backing plate option for DSFF specifically, but it's also applicable for SFF. So adding a drawing relating to that rigid backing plate. There's some example geometry for the guide rail. As I said, updated the BOM accordingly. I think the only real change to the BOM is there'll be a new EMI finger configuration for the top side of the faceplate. The bottom side could use the old LFF EMI fingers, so we're able to leverage some of that. And then the shock and vibe fixture, that configuration is complete. It will be able to leverage the same base plate shock and vibe fixture, just new, but it'll need to be modified with new mounting holes. So we're just working on getting those final drawings captured and the CAD for that. So just getting everything put in. Once we finalize that in the next day or two, then Thomas will be sending that out. The CAD, Damien, I'll probably work with you next week. I think the CAD's going to lag a little bit behind when we post the spec versus when we put the CAD on the wiki site. So I'll work once I get all that collected and together. I guess there's a question there. I don't know if we want to hold off on the CAD in case someone catches an error during our public review, or if we should go ahead and make the CAD available now for those to review in like a draft, CAD draft kind of mode.
I think 3D CAD draft will be useful also. Like I think some of the way to see your problem is to put it into the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I would agree. If as long as you put it in the release candidate area, I do agree we should include it publicly.
Yeah, I'm looking on the wiki now. I see that there's the release candidate. It's not in there, but in the working draft docs, there are some CAD files. So we'll probably want to pull those down and then put these new zip files up. We didn't get a chance to have the mechanical work stream this week since it was on Monday. It was a holiday. So next Monday, I'll work with the work stream just to make sure we've got everything collected. And then I'll send that request to you, those files over to you, Damon, so you could put on the wiki site.
Sure.
And then, yeah, I would say just pull down what is on the wiki site now under the working draft doc, and we'll use the new files as the correct ones.
Okay.
I think that's all I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I update, Jason.
Yeah, so as stated before, Dell's contributing the DSFF CBB fixture. This will be Gen 6 by default. We've already had the schematic posted or available for people that want to publicly review it. I will provide links for that, if needed. We are completing up 2 routing board options, both microstrip and strip line. We've been incorporating feedback from Broadcom and Intel. We're likely set to do a final review, I believe, next week. And once that is cleaned up, we'll submit it for fabrication. I don't have specific dates on when the first prototypes are going to be available yet, since there's a high dependency on when, once we have the final design, and then getting, since it's a PCB ultra low loss material, just it's usually more dependent on when we can get dates based on when I actually have Gerber package so that they can review it. Generally, it's been in a 6 to 12 week type time frame. Obviously hoping for an earlier than that, but it's for anyone wondering, it's going to be in that sort of time frame. We had been debating, and I'm saying that because as of like a few minutes ago, we had been debating, wanting to build a static demo hand version of it so that people can see it. I'm interested in seeing, the outcomes of the Innovation Village meetings that you're having, Damien, so that we can decide if that's necessary, because even if what we'll probably have to do is build an FR4 unit and then assemble with that. The biggest cost besides the PCB is really those MMPX connectors. So I want to make sure that there's some benefit that we actually are going to be able to demonstrate that in an adequate space. If not, likely I'll just bring, one of the available SFF versions, and then we can just kind of talk towards what it would be needed for that.
Yeah.
And then as stated before, CLB, there's no really need to build a DSFF version of it. One would just use 2 SFF to test the system. Sorry, Damien.
Yeah, I think if I read it correctly, and you want to build a non-Gen 6 version of a DSFF just for demo, it is you are thinking about?
Yeah, that was the thought process, so that as part of the demos that we're doing, we're demonstrating the innovation that we're all contributing from a DSFF point of view. But if we don't really have a way to fully demonstrate that, like let's say, we don't have table space for a static demo from one of the other companies that can demonstrate DSFF. If it's really going to be, I'm assuming because you said high power, if it's all about AI servers and AI networking, then, I might want to save the connector cost, and we'll just, I hope you see what I'm saying here.
Yeah. I can see the connector cost side, and then as for building a separate FR4 version and just to demo the DSFF, we can talk more tomorrow, but I think that may not be necessary. But that is not because of no space. Yeah. I do think that we have space. It is likely we don't have power. Yeah, for static demo may not be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about it. We're still open to it, but I do want to see an invested benefit. If it's just more of let's build it, I may question that, because these connector MMPXs are about $25 minimum time, probably 128, and you're already looking at $3,000 to $4,000 just on connectors.
Yeah, and it's not reusable too, because it's a FR4 PCB. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this?
Hey Jason, before it goes to the final review, is it possible to view the board file or any other collaterals, just for my sake, to see that whether it really everything looks okay?
Yeah. So what I'll do is when we finish up this last round of review, I'll post it to the OCP Google, and then I'll send that out to the folks. Yes. So the answer is yes. I'll make sure to post it before I submit it for fab.
Okay. So but at that point, probably you won't be able to accept any kind of recommendations or anything, any suggestions at that point, right? Because since you're just before submitting for fab, right? So
yeah, let me get with you, Tenmoy. If you have bandwidth to be able to review it, let me get you a copy so that
yeah, I think it's like certainly if you have a week or so, certainly I can spend some time to look at it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Great. The more the merrier.
To a point. I'm going to be really honest publicly. You know, when we get into these edge levels of signals, you know, we're getting to these speeds. Everyone has great ideas, but then we also bring some of our historical baggage, including myself. You know, we all have like a right sense of what needs to be done, and in some cases, designed by committee is good, in other cases it's not. So I want to make sure that the ones that are, in the end, Dell's the one contributing this, and I want to just make sure that the ones that are helping provide feedback are providing a valued level of feedback so that it all benefits all of us. But that's my point of view.
Yeah, I definitely I recognize that, but yeah.
Okay, next slide.
Sure.
On the thermal test fixture, so Dell had contributed the SFF, the TSFF. For those that are still familiar, the LFF version of the test fixture. You know, this has been in use by multiple system vendors and multiple NIC vendors. It helped create a baseline on how we want to do initial testing with OCP NICs. In the end, it creates interoperability and scalability by having a one common denominator for how we want to test NICs. It's not necessarily the endpoint on how a particular system would test a thermal point, but at least gives everyone that one baseline point to be able to test against in a specified manner. So to that end, Dell is contributing the DSFF. It is a little still early in our design phase of it. We're just now starting the schematic. It's not going to be a big surprise. It's going to be based on the prior SFF, TSFF, and DSFF designs. So it'll have a common similarity to that. Our goal is to try to build a single unit that can support both an SFF and a DSFF. The reason for that is for the folks that had been around for the past 2 years. The current DSFF is definitely on the channel limit, you know, in terms of loss limit on what can be supported for Gen 5. Some companies can successfully do it as is, and others have to really think about the system and the PCI riser cable and DUT, and ensuring that you have adequate channel margin to be able to operate at the Gen 5 rate. So for this particular unit, we want to build it for Gen 6 and try to get it somewhat Gen 7 ready, but to be able to support not only the DSFF, but also the SFF, since it supports the same 4C connector. We are going to use the same MCU that we used from the SFF, so it should have the same look and feel. The code that we do develop with it will be contributed to the OCP GitHub. Like I said, it's still pretty early, so I don't have any mechanical design or even a schematic available right now to review. We have just started on it right now. So this is kind of what I have currently. Our goal is to have something here possibly by the end of fall, but it is going to be pretty tight in that respect. It's going to be likely more in the winter, early to mid-winter time frame. If you have to be realistic here, but we're doing our best to try to prioritize it with resourcing that I currently have at my disposal.
So, Jason, regarding this DCMHS compatible server, so ultimately it seems like it is not HMAL. It doesn't have to be HMAL compatible, given your plot diagram uses a MCIO 160 pin, which is is that defined in?
It'll basically be the MXIO. So it's that. I may have put a C instead of an X in there, but it's
okay.
Yeah. So it's the specified one in the DCMHS along with the PIC power. So that's the connector choice that we're looking to, and then it'll be basically by 16. So in theory, you can support, you know, a single cable going to an SFF or 2 cables for a DSFF. And that should ensure an interoperable path so that multiple people can use different HPMs for their particular TTF testing. But ultimately, we're just going to have to move away from the chem connector strategy. What we did and what we saw when we were doing Gen 5 and using extender cables, while I don't have any doubt the vendors that do provide, PCI extender cables can build quality cables, the overall channel budget that's required for Gen 6 is just too challenging, I think, for us to continue on using a chem to OCP strategy.
Yeah, I wonder if you're also open to use 2 MCIO 74-pin prospect power. That kind of allow more than the folks that just adopt the MXIO.
As I understand it, and then we can talk about this further, as I understand it, you should be able to use like a 74-pin MCIO in that particular first bay of the MXIO.
Correct.
And then you can procure a separate PIC power, and you can actually choose the way we're going to design it too. I didn't show it on here, but there also will be the ATX motherboard connector that is currently on the TTF. You can barely see it on that picture on the top right. It's along where the LEDs are. You can independently power it with an ATX motherboard, and then I believe in theory use a 74-pin MCIO if you just need 8 lanes for, like, say, a DSFF.
Cool. Yeah. If you have considered that, that is actually great. So yeah. Cool.
Hey, Jason, a couple of questions. I know I kind of mentioned with you about wanting to kick off the thermal working group. I think I'm more kind of focused on the thermal modeling side and generating the curves and some of those kind of things. But we're kind of dependent, the modeling is dependent on when you guys kind of lock down the geometry of the new test fixture. And I know I had put a placeholder originally for this week, and I pushed it out a couple of weeks, but I mean, given your timeline, I mean, when do you think is a good time for us to kick off that thermal work stream to, because there's definitely some pressure for people wanting to start simulating the thermals, but I can't really build the thermal model at least until we know what the the boundary condition is going to be for the test fixture as far as geometry wise.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally understand that. I totally respect that. The answer is I don't know as of today. As time moves forward in this next week or two, I may have some better clarity, but at this particular moment, my answer is I don't know.
And us having a thermal work stream, will that help you at all? Is there help needed from the community, or is it just you guys have to do this work internally, and then when you have it to a point, you can pass it over to, I guess, for like to do the thermal modeling side? Just trying to decide if I should keep that work stream on the calendar for now, or if I should just go ahead and cancel that and we wait till we hear back when you're at a point when you're ready.
I don't know. There might be some benefit from the work stream given the fact that DCMHS, has been defined. There may be some people with different points of view on how, the hot aisle version of that and cold aisle, may spurn from something like that. I don't want to not have you not scenario through that with the team. But from my perspective, I can't really provide you a date because from my area of what I know, the answer is I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll keep it on the calendar for a couple weeks from now as like a kickoff, and maybe it won't be an every week kind of meeting. Maybe I'll see what kind of. I think I sent it out. I got a couple responses from some of the mechanical work stream, but maybe we want to open up to some more system level folks. Maybe pull in some more from the DCMHS side if there's some thermal folks in there that would want to contribute. And we could at least do a kickoff to kind of see if there's any, like you said, if there's any kind of data that you want to feed in as you guys work through it, and then we can kind of do it sporadically as needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I did the SI work stream, my first meeting was just about what do we want to set goals and what do we want to scope, more than tackling problems. If you want to start that, you're more than welcome to do that as an idea.
Yeah, that sounds good. Get that
Yeah,
going.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, since we're talking about thermal, I also would like to bring up that I think we're still missing some of the thermal diagrams and also capability chart in our OCP NIC spec. Yeah, maybe we can also bring in Joe in some of the email thread with NVIDIA and Meta that earlier look into the TSFF thermal capability. And I think we also need something similar for the DSFF. Yeah, what is the thermal capability as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking to help with the DSFF side. And I did see that email you sent, Damien, about trying to kick off to add the TSFF. So those are certainly the things that we can kind of handle in this thermal work stream meeting to help drive those. We can talk more in the work stream specifically, but I think there's a lot of talk about for DSFF. I think we're going to scale it to be more of like a smart NIC kind of application versus the SFF was more of an FNIC. As far as like the assumption of what the chip size is and the power. I think for DSFF we're going to do a more realistic, more challenging case of what is a smart NIC. A larger package, more power density, and that's what we'll do for the modeling. So yeah, those are all things we'll cover in the work stream. So yeah, if there's anyone in this work stream, I see there's a chat right now. Anyone who wants to be added who may not have received the invite from the mechanical work stream email list I had, please paste it in here and I'll copy that info so I can include you in this new thermal work stream we're going to kick off.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is the end for this month. Okay. If there's no further question, this will be the update. Hope to see you folks in the OCP Global Summit. And yeah, let us know if you want to join any other work stream. We do have electrical, SI, mechanical, and now we're going to kickstart the thermal one too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.